All right, for today's shave, I'm going to be using my premium grade 3-band Silvertip knot from Golden Nib. I like to soak it in a cup like this, but that is optional. You need to get it wet before you start shaving though. All right, we have a new to me razor. This is a glorious looking dart from Blackland razors. This is the polished version. I've used the machined version before, and I really like the machined version. The machined version costs less because they didn't have to do all the polishing work. And so in this shave, we'll be comparing them a little bit. High hopes for this guy. The blade we'll be putting in it is this Nacet blade. And we've got 50 dots on one side. And this will be the 80th shave on this guy. So we'll take him out. And this is what he looks like. The old X on there. And then here's the base plate, all shiny and polished up, stainless steel. And then the top cap as well. And another good thing about this razor is that the blades seat into place and don't need any kind of adjustment. They're just right every time. This is the dart here is from Blackland razors, in case you aren't familiar. So there we go. All right. The lather bowl for today, and the soap is one that I got from I bought used from a fellow online shaver, Proraso. This is he says this is a discontinued soap that is just really good. Proraso wheat germ and lanolin, and so I'm looking forward to trying it. So we'll take a quarter teaspoon measure here. And hook about a quarter teaspoon out. It's pretty soft. This, he may have left it with some, moisture in it or something like that. Sometimes soaps are like that. This is kind of wet, and so it's kind of hard to get it off my finger in the bowl here. So if this is true, then I may need to either let this soap dry out a little bit, or just load from the bowl there instead of hooking out the bit of soap. Otherwise, it might just kind of scoot around inside the bowl as I'm stirring. All right. And then another throwback / discontinued product. We're gonna use this Nivea Aftershave, and from the same online user, Driven Legend, and he says this is just really good stuff, and the new formulation's a little bit inferior compared to this, both in scent and in purpose. So it'll be fun to try out. All right. So I'm gonna get my face a little wet. And now I'm gonna take my brush out of the water. I just rinsed off my face and am now reminded to tell you that I'm using cold water. it is hard water. Yeah, those little pieces of soap, I might have to do kind of a jab motion here to make sure they get kind of worked on. And it's fairly dry, and that's all right. So we will throw in a little water. Yep, coming up nicely. Half teaspoon at a time. It's kind of how I do new soaps. Generally works pretty well. But if you've got a soap that you use a lot, I recommend that you experiment and increase that in quantity. And so that way, like if you can add 1 teaspoon at a time or whatever, then that'll save you time. Yeah, this guy's looking great. Don't really know how to classify the smell. Just kind of a nice scent. Okay, so that's 2 teaspoons of water in the lather. I'm going to go ahead and I just feel like I can go ahead and add a full teaspoon now. So I'm going to do that. I think I've still got some soap chunks floating around in there. Well, looks like I'm going to have plenty of lather to do my job here. A little bit of elasticity there, but also look at those, see those jagged peaks? Look how it stands on its own like that. Usually means you need to add more water. At least for my preferences. I like to have a slick wet lather that really bonds to the skin so that it can protect, instead of a big old thick Santa's beard type thing that just kind of stays on your skin and is a little dry, relatively speaking. Very good looking lather. Yep. gonna bet I didn't need to use quite so much soap. Probably get away with a little bit less than a quarter teaspoon. There we go. So this Badger brush is a nice, soft, airy, light, poofy type, very comfortable brush with kind of low backbone. That's the way I like them. Don't like a lot of backbone. It's got soft enough tips. I like a medium amount of backbone. Backbone is the kind of the body of the hair and not the tips. And so it's, you know, it means, is it stiff or is it kind of floppy? All right, get my face wet one more time. I don't really do any kind of pre-shave routine. Sometimes I might start working on a 2-day hair growth today. Didn't shave yesterday. Wow, this is coming on a little dry. I might still need to add a little bit of water. See, if it looks like that, then that's usually a sign that your water's a little too dry. I'm sorry, your lather is a little too dry. Probably just have too much soap in the mix. All right, nice even layer added around. Now, when I bought the Dart, one of the things I immediately noticed, the polished version versus the machined version. See, the machined version leaves kind of micro ridges that you almost can't see, but if you feel, you can kind of feel them, even on the handle part, which looks just spectacular on this machined version. But that makes it really easy to hold and keep your grip even when wet and soapy. The polished version is definitely, that's not there because those ridges have been polished away. And so it's not as easy to hold, but by comparison. But I bet it won't be a problem. I mean, because see, the thing is kind of slipping down as I'm holding it with wet hands. And so, but the grips, the ridges here on the handle are going to help you be able to index it properly. Keep it from going from one side to the other. I do feel the blade, and you can kind of hear it. Much more so, I believe, than the machined version. But it is a 2-day shave, and so I shouldn't expect it to sound and feel like a 24-hour shave. It's a little on the rough side, and remember, this is an old blade, so I believe the second and third passes are really where I'm going to start being able to compare it to its machined brother. Yeah, that was pretty aggressive feeling. A lot of blade feel there. But one good thing, this is a razor that's pretty aggressive. I'd say maybe a 7 out of 10, where his big brother, the Blackbird, is much higher, to me at least. I'm gonna rinse this off. And so I definitely trusted the Dart to be able to remove these 2 days of stubble. Put a little extra water in my lather since that first bit was a little on the dry side, relatively speaking. All right, there are still some soap chunks floating around. I think you may have seen one on my neck a minute ago. Don't have to scrub quite as much on the second pass because you already cleaned it up on the first one. I think I do feel a little bit of irritation on my neck from that first pass. This the polishing may have affected, I wonder, the geometry. But one great thing about the Dart that makes it wonderful, especially with the machined one, was that I learned that I could bring the handle in just a little bit to close that handle angle, and it would behave in a much more mild way, relatively speaking. And so maybe from a 7 it turns it down to a 5, and that is what I had to do definitely on passes 2, 3, and any more than that. So let's try that with this one. Much nicer. So yeah, this is a slick lather. Very nice. Easily rinses away from the razor. That's what you want. Otherwise, you have mixed it too dry. Generally speaking, your preferences are your own. If you like a dry lather, then go for it. But if that's all you've ever had, I urge you to add some more water and get a little bit slicker. See how you like that. Well, if you had a job where you weren't scrutinized up close for your appearance in terms of beard, you could definitely walk away after just 2 passes in this situation. So that's cool, good to know. And let's put on that third pass. I think this might have some menthol in it, just a little bit. I do feel a little bit of a cooling sensation. sometimes menthol gives me more of a burning sensation. So I'm glad that it is, whatever it is not too strong. Yeah, holding this, normally I use a grip kind of like this to give me less leverage, and so that if I hit a bump improperly and I wasn't judging my pressure accurately, that the razor will give. However, this guy, because of his weight, I may need to kind of let him rest on my pinky sometimes to keep him from sliding down. Definitely a beautiful razor though. And this third pass is smooth. My first, well, I'm gonna wait. My first guess is that maybe the polishing has changed the geometry just a little bit to make this razor more, this version more, a little bit more aggressive. The Dart was already pretty aggressive for my skin and hair type. But that's just my guess right now. Because right now I'm feeling a little bit more irritation than I ever felt with a Dart, except maybe in the first few times before I learned to reduce the handle angle. All right, let's rinse this third pass off. All right, so now let's put on that last neck only pass. Definitely getting a good shave here. Sometimes if a razor feels aggressive, you may get a little bit of irritation on your skin. However, you may also end up with one of the best shaves you've ever had because of it. Because of course, when we're talking about aggression, we're talking about how exposed the blade is, how much it's sticking out from the safety bar and from the top cap. Yeah, that's a good close shave. I also could be reacting a little bit to something in the soap, so we'll definitely suspend that first impression of kind of irritation until we try another soap too. All right, I'm gonna rinse this off. All right, so for me, I did see a few tips that had a little bit of length on them. I see a good many of the tips that I'm only seeing the top of the hair. So those have, for the most part, been cut flush. So I wonder maybe I'll shave with the machined Dart tomorrow. You know, because yes, 2 days ago the machined Dart gave me a shave that was better than this one on this same blade. So, or maybe I'll keep trying the stainless version. I'm sorry, the polished version. Who knows? Sometimes it's really good to give things more chances than just one use in the shaving world. Blades, soaps, razors, pretty much everything. All right. A good rule of thumb is if you're not sure if you're going to like something, try it for a week and then switch back to the alternative for a week and then switch back to what you're trying for a week, because then you'll be able to see the differences a little better. One thing I'm doing with brushes, I've got two similar brushes, this Silvertip, and here's another Silvertip, and this one is Frank Shaving, I believe, and this one is the golden nib. And so I'm alternating days generally back and forth, and then you can more easily contrast them. All right, I've just rinsed this off. Let's throw on the old discontinued version of the Nivea Splash. Now the new Nivea, oh okay, this is actually, when I first took the cap off, it came out like a little liquid. So you know what, I'm gonna think that maybe I need to kind of shake this guy up a little bit. Oh yeah, he's definitely kind of a thick liquid in there. He's not a lotion like the current Nivea aftershave. All right. It does have a little bit of alcohol in it, so that's a way I can kind of test my shave. There we go. Wow. This is so thin, it spreads so easily. I did not need to use that much. It does have a nice scent to it. All right, really happy with that. I'm going to clean up. All right, so how much water did I use? 4.5 teaspoons. So that is definitely, we have tons of lather. Still have 2 or 3 passes left over. So definitely you use maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of soap instead of 1/4, something like that. Although I still have chunks in there. And so that's a pretty potent thing. Maybe I'll just load from the tub next time, unless I can get this thing to dry out a little bit. So there we go. So I thought I might show you the differences between the 2 versions of this Dart. If you're not interested in that, you can go ahead and tune out now. But let's look at the polished version versus the machined version. We'll start at the top with the top caps, and it's easy to tell the difference because one is more matte, a matte appearance, and the other one is shiny. The machined version here has a little sharper edges, not so much that you'd cut yourself, but you could cut yourself if you did it on purpose. Raked it across your skin pretty hard. You can see probably the machined marks around the base of the screws, that flat area there, where those have just about all been polished away on the polished version. And then of course, big difference can be seen on the top of it. You've kind of got a mirror finish right here, and this is more of a matte finish. I definitely like the appearance of this one better. This one even has some kind of striations almost from the machining, and that was on purpose because this is a $40 less, because they didn't have to put in that labor. And so there's some, big differences there in the top cap. The base plate here, not, other than the matte versus the polished, you can still see a few tool marks around the holes, but it's not really a big deal. And this one, of course, looks great. But you can definitely see big differences because more of the machine marks were left right here on the bottom side of the base plate, whereas there's pretty much none on the polished version. If I look closely, I can see some of those machining marks that are under, that weren't quite polished all the way out, so it's not a perfect mirror finish. But this is the bottom of the razor, the bottom of the base plate. You're not going to see it very often. And so to me, that's why even this over here, it doesn't really bother me at all, because this is a great razor. It feels great. It's more nimble in the hand because you have such better grip. Another big difference is the feel of the handle. These ridges and the grooving here that goes along with the machined version are just not able to be there because they've been polished away, I imagine, during the polishing process and the buffing and all that's required to polish this up. Much of the other parts of the handle kind of looks the same. Not everything's rounded off, but here, these corners are kind of rounded off, and that does affect your grip. And it actually makes it feel like a thinner handle, and it probably is technically, because more of it was kind of ground away. But there's the two finishes. So, terrific. All right, so I'm going to assemble the polished version one more time, since he is the feature attraction today, and just give you a look at him. So, so there we are. The edges have been kind of, I mean, you could probably still cut yourself if you really bore down hard on your skin. And then, so we'll take the base plate here, put it down. I love how in the polished or the machined version, the blades just sat really securely. And you can tell they polished these while they're assembled, because it looks so good right there on the end. And I believe for the most part, this does cover over the end tab of the blades, you know, that come out the end. If that's a concern of yours, but not really of mine, but if that's a concern of yours, then that's good to know. And so it just looks really nice all the way around. Polish up the top of that head. So I definitely think, in terms of appearance, I like the polished version better, but the grip is so different. And if the shave is truly different, if it has jumped up a notch in terms of aggression, like maybe this guy is an 8 instead of a 7, and then if I bring the handle angle in, that makes it more like a 6 rather than a 5, that could sway me, and maybe return this one in favor of the machined version, which is more in my range. And then I could, because it is pure stainless steel, I can still polish it if I want to get it looking a little bit more like this. So, you know, I have to decide that over the next. I think Blackland is great. They give you a month to use their product before you can return it for a full refund, and that's really cool. I think he knows his products are good, and so he can have that kind of assurance. And I think a lot of people like them. All right, so that's 80 shaves on that blade. How about that? I think, yeah, I think we'll keep using that polished dart tomorrow, and see how it acts on a 1-day shave instead of 2-day like I had today. But face feels great. It's been several minutes after the shave. There is a very minimal feel of general rawness, but it's just minimal in the neck area. But I don't see any redness at all, so I'm sure that'll go away very soon. So we're good, all done. So the shave was a little uncomfortable, and we'll find out in the next few days if that was because of the dart itself, or the blade, or something else. So got to eliminate those variables. Sometimes when you try a whole bunch of new products at once, it's neat, and if it goes great, then tremendous. But if it doesn't, then you don't know what was the culprit, what was the problem, and so then you kind of back off and start eliminating variables. So that's the way we do it. I liked the aftershave. Went on really smoothly. Face feels good. A little bit of alcohol in there is good. I have oily skin, so I like that. This soap lathers really well. Proraso is a good soap anyway, but I think the extra lanolin in there just feels good, nice and smooth. And so we'll see how it goes. A little tentative about my maiden voyage with the dart because of the aggression, but we'll try it tomorrow with just a 24-hour shave, and if that is still a little rough, we'll throw a newer blade in it and see how it does then. Get a better appreciation for it across different blade spectrums. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful to somebody in some way out there. Thank you for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Have a good night. Take care.